When I was doing live stop smoking clinics, I would sometimes encounter people in my program who were just furious with me. The reason being, they would take a puff on a cigarette, and I'd make this real big deal out of it. In fact, it was such a big deal that I'd throw them out of the clinic, and they didn't see that as fair. Now, I need to point out that when they came the first day of the clinic, I introduced all the concepts. Anyone could come the first day. To join the clinic, they had to understand it was a cold turkey program. If they took a puff, they'd be out. If they took nicotine in any form, they would be out. We were a drug addiction program. I wanted them to understand drug addiction. The law of addiction is that once you're addicted, if you administer the substance after having stopped using, you're going to relapse. That's just the way addiction works. It works that way with alcohol. It works that way with heroin. It works that way with nicotine. We spell it out. We tell them the first day, if they take a puff, they're out. Well, then sometimes a person would come in the second or third day or the second week, whatever, had a puff, but they didn't think it was that big of a deal. They kind of thought, I guess I was joking about the law of addiction, that if they took the puff, they were going to be out of the clinic. That was the law of the clinic. And they were often furious about this and wondering, like, how could I sleep at night knowing that I caused them to go back to smoking? I took the clinic away from them. Well, I slept quite well because I didn't cause them to go back to smoking. They went back to smoking. They took a puff on a cigarette. And I realized these people should not have been coming to a stop smoking clinic because they weren't looking to really understand how to quit smoking. They were almost trying to rationalize that it was okay to smoke. Instead of going to a clinic, I really think these people would have been better, since they were trying to get around the law of addiction. They should have just hired themselves a good attorney. And they should have been able to somehow get a court case going where they could get an impartial jury, where they could present this idea that they had quit smoking, they were off, but they took a puff on a cigarette, and they don't think that should count for anything. They didn't think that was a big deal. I think if you get a really skilled attorney, they would be able to present this case to this jury, come up with some extenuating circumstances about some horrible event that was going on in their life, or some big celebration that they had to have cigarettes for, whatever. They'd come up with some good story and play on the heartstrings of these 12 impartial jurors, and to have the jurors come back and tell them that, you know, it was really okay that you took a puff on a cigarette. That shouldn't put you back to smoking. You made up your mind you don't want to be a smoker, and so you should be able to, if you do smoke, that shouldn't throw away your quit. I don't think it would be hard to convince people of this. I know it's not hard because I look online sometimes where people will actually, relapse in a stop smoking group and come in and ask, does this really count? And you'll get people coming and saying, no, it's okay. Don't worry about it. You don't have to reset your meter or anything. You can still count all the quit that you have done now as being relevant. It's really easy to get people to do this. Well, if you get these 12 impartial jurors, they would probably be able to come back sometimes with a unanimous decision that it was okay. And then you would be able to walk out of that courthouse a totally free, independent smoker who would probably have an urge to smoke that was quite overpowering, considering you were in drug withdrawal still. I don't care what the 12 impartial people said. If you get people coming and tell you that you're doing fine, oh, that's great. That's great. Is it going to get you over addiction? No. Is it going to give your body some sort of magic bullet now that makes the withdrawal go away from what you are encountering now because you relapsed? No. They're going to make you feel better emotionally, but they can't take away the addiction from you. You need to understand this. You are fighting a drug addiction. You are fighting a physiological process, and whether you can convince people that it's okay or not doesn't make a difference. Your body is going to demand nicotine. If you want to beat this addiction, the way to do it is treat the addiction as an addiction. Stop delivering the drug. And then, if you want to stay off for the rest of your life, it's still a matter now of just knowing to stick to a personal commitment to never take another puff.